Hey there, folks! Ever feel like life's a bit of a roller coaster? We're diving into a book today that's helped millions navigate this crazy journey called life, The Untethered Soul by Michael A. Singer. It's a New York Times bestseller with over 3 million copies sold. This book guides you to a place of peace and understanding within yourself. It's more like a heart-to-heart with a wise old friend, nudging you to look within and discover the real you. It's about shedding the worries and discovering the freedom that comes from truly knowing yourself. Now let's talk about the man behind the book, Michael A. Singer. He's a renowned spiritual teacher, a meditation master, and the founder of a thriving spiritual community. Michael's journey began in the 1970s. He dove headfirst into meditation and inner exploration, experiencing a profound spiritual awakening. But he didn't keep it all to himself. Michael felt compelled to share his discoveries, guiding others on their own paths to inner freedom. And that's where The Untethered Soul comes in. It's the culmination of his years of seeking and his insights into the nature of consciousness. In this book, Michael tackles some big questions. Do you know who you are really, beyond our thoughts and emotions? What is consciousness? How can we find lasting peace and happiness? It encourages us to step outside the confines of our minds, to become observers of our thoughts and feelings. Imagine yourself sitting by a flowing river, watching your thoughts drift by like leaves on the current. The Untethered Soul isn't about becoming emotionless. It's about engaging with life fully from a place of inner peace. Now, let's talk about this thing we call the self. We all walk around with a sense of me, right? This personality, this identity we've built up over the years. But what if I told you that this me, this ego, is just an illusion? Michael calls it the voice in your head, this constant chatterbox that tells you who you are. But here's the thing. You are not your thoughts. You are something much deeper, something more profound than all of that. The Untethered Soul invites us to detach from this limited sense of self, to observe the ego without getting swept away by its dramas. It's like watching a movie. You get caught up in the story, but at the end of the day, you know it's just a movie. Why is it so important to detach from the ego? Because clinging to this limited sense of self is like living in a prison of our own making. We become trapped by our thoughts, our emotions, our stories. The Untethered Soul encourages us to question these beliefs, to see them for what they are. Just thoughts. By recognizing that we are not our thoughts, we start to loosen the grip of the ego and create space for something much greater to emerge. It's like stepping out of a cramped, dark room into the open air, under a wide open sky. Engage this path further, explore more and subscribe. Untethering from the ego doesn't mean becoming emotionless or indifferent to life. It's about shifting our relationship to our thoughts and emotions. Instead of being ruled by them, we learn to observe them with a sense of detachment. We recognize that they are transient, impermanent. This freedom allows us to experience life more fully, to connect with others more deeply, and to appreciate the beauty around us. We open ourselves up to a level of peace and joy that is not dependent on external circumstances. Now we've been talking a lot about the mind, the ego, all that chatter going on up there. But what about what lies beyond the mind? What about that part of us that's aware of our thoughts, our emotions, our experiences? That, my friends, is consciousness. Michael Singer describes consciousness as the space in which everything happens. It's the silent observer, the witness to all that we experience. In The Untethered Soul, Michael invites us to shift our attention from the constant chatter of the mind to the quiet presence of awareness. He suggests that true freedom and happiness lie not in controlling our thoughts, but in recognizing that we are not our thoughts. This shift in perspective can be incredibly liberating. We begin to realize that we are not at the mercy of our thoughts and emotions. So how do we access this space of awareness, this consciousness that resides within? It's simpler than you might think, folks. It all starts with paying attention. Mindfulness, meditation, these are all practices that help us cultivate this space of awareness. They allow us to step outside the constant stream of thoughts and simply observe them without judgment. As we become more aware of our thoughts and emotions, we start to notice patterns. And with this awareness comes choice. We no longer have to be controlled by these patterns. Now, this is where things get really interesting, folks. As we cultivate this space of awareness, we start to experience a level of freedom and peace we never thought possible. We realize that we are not our limitations. We are free to choose who we want to be in each and every moment. The Untethered Soul reminds us that we have the power to choose our thoughts, our beliefs, our actions. When we choose from a place of awareness, we make choices that lead to greater peace, happiness, and fulfillment. We've all got one, folks. That voice inside our heads that just won't quit. Michael Singer calls it the inner roommate. This voice is constantly chattering away, analyzing, judging, worrying. The Untethered Soul encourages us to consider this. How much of our inner dialogue is actually helpful? A lot of our inner chatter is not our friend. It's fueled by fear, insecurity, and past conditioning. We can learn to recognize the voice in our head for what it is, simply a collection of thoughts, not the ultimate truth about who we are. Now I know what you're thinking. Easier said than done, right? Quieting that inner chatterbox can feel like trying to wrangle a room full of monkeys high on sugar. It's not about silencing the mind completely. Instead, it's about changing our relationship to our thoughts. Michael Singer uses the analogy of a movie screen. Our thoughts and emotions are like the images projected onto the screen. We can choose to get caught up in the drama of the movie, or we can simply observe the images without judgment. By simply observing our thoughts in this way, we create a little bit of space between ourselves and the thoughts. We begin to realize that we are not our thoughts, we are the observer of our thoughts. Now, creating this space of awareness takes practice. It's like building a muscle. Meditation is a fantastic tool for this, but even just taking a few moments each day to sit quietly, observe your breath, and notice the sensations in your body can make a world of difference. As we cultivate this inner stillness, we begin to tap into a deep well of peace that resides within each and every one of us. This peace is not dependent on external circumstances. It's always there, beneath the surface of our thoughts and emotions, waiting to be discovered. Now, folks, let's talk about meditation. Meditation ain't just for hippies and yogis. It's a practice that's been around for thousands of years, and for good reason. It's like a workout for your mind, strengthening your ability to focus, to relax, and to find that inner peace we've been talking about. The Untethered Soul describes meditation as the practice of consciously choosing to direct your attention inward, to that quiet space within. It's about letting go of the constant stream of thoughts and emotions and simply being present in the moment. Our minds are used to running wild like a pack of squirrels on caffeine. But with regular practice, meditation helps us tame those wild squirrels, to quiet the mental chatter and connect with that deep sense of peace that's always there, beneath the surface. Meditation allows the mud to settle, revealing the clear, still water beneath. And in that stillness, we find peace. Now, meditation ain't just about sitting cross-legged on a cushion, chanting Om. It's about bringing that same quality of awareness into our everyday lives. This is what we call mindfulness. It's about paying attention to the present moment without judgment, without getting caught up in the past or worrying about the future. Think about it. How often do you find yourself going through the motions, your mind a million miles away? Maybe you're eating dinner but thinking about work, or you're walking the dog but worrying about your to-do list. When we're stuck in our heads like this, we miss out on the richness of life, the simple pleasures that surround us in every moment. Mindfulness invites us to savor these moments, to truly experience them with all our senses, to taste our food, to feel the breeze on our skin, to listen to the birds singing. When we bring mindfulness to our daily activities, even the most mundane tasks can become opportunities for peace and joy. Now, here's the beautiful thing about this whole untethered soul business, folks. When we learn to detach from our thoughts and emotions, when we stop relying on external circumstances for our happiness, we tap into a wellspring of joy that's always been within us. This is what Michael Singer calls unconditional happiness. It's a happiness that doesn't depend on things going our way, on having the perfect job, the perfect relationship, or the perfect life. It's a happiness that arises from within, from a deep sense of peace and acceptance of ourselves and the world around us. The Untethered Soul teaches us that this kind of happiness is available to all of us, regardless of our circumstances. It's not about denying the challenges of life or pretending that everything is always rosy. It's about learning to navigate those challenges from a place of inner peace and resilience. It's about finding that place of stillness within, even amidst the storms of life. Now, I know this might sound like a tall order, folks, but trust me on this. The journey to inner peace and unconditional happiness is worth it. It's a journey of self-discovery, of letting go of what no longer serves us, and of embracing the fullness of who we truly are. Now let's dive into some simple exercises from the Untethered Soul that you can start practicing right away. The first exercise is all about hitting the pause button. In our fast-paced world, it's easy to get swept up in the hustle and bustle. But throughout your day, try to find little moments to simply stop and be present. Maybe it's when you're waiting in line at the grocery store, or while you're washing the dishes, or even just for a few breaths before you check your phone in the morning. During these pauses, bring your attention to your breath. Notice the rise and fall of your chest, the feeling of the air entering and leaving your nostrils. Don't try to change your breath, just observe it. Now let's talk about dealing with those pesky negative emotions. We all experience them: fear, anger, sadness, insecurity. Imagine you're holding onto a rope and someone on the other end is pulling it tight. The more you resist, the more painful it becomes. But what if, instead of resisting, you simply let go of the rope? The pulling stops and you're free from the struggle. When a challenging emotion arises, instead of trying to push it away, try to simply acknowledge its presence. Notice where you feel it in your body. Just observe it with curiosity. We realize that we are not our emotions. We are the observer of our emotions. Well, folks, we've covered a lot of ground today, exploring the key insights from Michael Singer's The Untethered Soul. It's a book that challenges us to look inward, to question our assumptions about who we are, and to discover the boundless freedom that comes from living from a place of awareness. Remember that little voice in your head, the one that's always chattering away? We learned that we don't have to believe everything it says. We can choose to observe our thoughts and emotions without getting swept away by them. Like clouds passing through the sky, they come, they go, but the sky remains unchanged. And speaking of the sky, we explored the vastness of consciousness, that space within each of us that's aware of our thoughts, our feelings, our experiences. It's like the sky, and our thoughts are like the birds flying through it. The sky doesn't try to control the birds, it simply allows them to come and go. By connecting with this space of awareness through practices like meditation and mindfulness, we begin to experience a level of peace and freedom that's not dependent on external circumstances. We realize that true happiness isn't something we have to chase after. It's something we cultivate from within. The Untethered Soul ain't just a book of theories, folks. It's a roadmap for living a more fulfilling and meaningful life. It's about showing up for this journey called life with more presence, more compassion, and a whole lot of heart. Now, I'm not going to lie, this whole Untethered Soul business, it's a lifelong practice. There'll be days when those pesky thoughts and emotions get the best of you, when that inner critic starts spouting off and you forget all about your inner peace. But that's okay. The important thing is to keep practicing, to keep showing up for yourself with kindness and compassion. Remember, folks, this ain't about becoming some kind of enlightened guru who never experiences a negative emotion again. It's about learning to navigate the ups and downs of life with more grace, more ease, and a whole lot of self-love. So, keep exploring, keep questioning, keep opening to the possibility of a life filled with more peace, joy, and freedom. And remember, you ain't alone on this journey. We're all in this together, folks. Now go on, get out there and live your untethered life.